Hi, my name is Albert Tay. I am actually looks after the financial services industry for Oracle in Asia Pacific regions. So in fact, if you look at the Asians, most of the Asian banks, whether big or small, they've gone through some massive transformation, especially the post-crisis in 2008. So a lot of banks have actually gone through the transformation from, in the past, they tend to be a lot more product focused, right? So they are focusing more in terms of product profitability. But today we see a bank has actually transformed themselves, focusing more toward the customer, right? So that's where they transform themselves more towards customer centricity by looking at customer relationship profitability, right? So the BPM actually arise, in fact, even before BPM came about, a lot of time the processes tend to be very silo. In fact, all applications that we see in the banking environment are very silo in nature. Most of the application, all the way from loan application, credit check application, all the way to the core banking application, each of the workflow is actually siloed by itself. There's no simplified workflow that cutting across the entire spectrum from someone who actually apply for loan until the loan get dispersed. Right, initially a lot of SOA came about, traditionally is only cater for integration on the data layer, right? So that's why we're talking about application integration, right? But a lot of situation whereby when it comes to a process level, there's a lot of this bottleneck actually neglected that has not been actually fully optimized, especially when it comes to process optimization. So the BPM came about is actually trying to address beyond just about application level, but on the process level. When we're talking about process level, we're talking about not just about document workflow, we're also talking about human workflow as well as system workflow as well, while looking at seamless integration end to end. But ultimately, what we're trying to achieve is provide what we call process transparency end to end. That's why we see the dynamic of IT has evolved when we used to focusing very much on application level integration in the past, but now moving itself into more process-oriented or process-centric approach to addressing business problem rather than just about IT problem. So in fact, business process management is all about change management. But if you look at business process management, it actually provide the ability to have a better feasibility, ability to provide a better agility to the business, right? So that is how business process management is all about. So in fact, business process management has been there for many, many years. If you look at in the old days, right, organizations tend to actually engage, consultant to help them to look at business process re-engineering. But ultimately, how can these processes that actually define as a blueprint get executed at the end of the day? So in fact, when you look at the changes environment today, a lot of time organizations tend to actually do a customization on the application level. So meaning that they are always building a wrapper around the application to adapt the changes because of regulation change, because State Bank of, let's say in Pakistan, had came out new regulation. Basically, they have to actually alter on the application level. But by altering the application at application level tend to be not a best way, because eventually, very hard for them to actually support at the end of the day. So what BPM is trying to bring is bringing all the changes and complexity away from the core system and bring it on the higher level. That's why we're leveraging on business process management to give them that level of orchestration, that level of flexibility, so that they don't have to touch the core system. To do this, it gives them a lot more flexibility in supporting the business eventually, right? So that's how we look at simplifying BPM on a BPM level rather than actually customize it on your application level. I would say in Pakistan, by looking at the industry, financial service industry, probably the most ideal way, because if you look at the banking or even insurance, it's basically a process-driven kind of industry. So I look at Pakistan, for instance, there's a tremendous amount of automation that can be actually improved, because a lot of the services offering by the banks or even in the environment in the banking, a lot of this is actually very manual, right? For example, someone who walks into a branch by filling out a loan form, right? So the loan form, how they actually get approved and executed at the end, taking a tremendous effort, especially in terms of ability for them to actually precisely to determine the processing time. In fact, I have personally worked on one customer, in fact, in Taiwan, one of the top 3 banks. So the classical example is that someone who walks in a branch to apply for a loan. So typically, the person from the counter, the teller, after receiving the loan form, they basically have to fax it to the back office. After back office receiving the loan form, they actually have to scan it, and after that they have to print it, and having someone to actually manually enter the application, enter the data into the backend system. So tremendous of effort of manual work actually causing them to lose a lot of their customer, right? Because all this is very manual in nature. So what Oracle has actually provided is a tool-based solution that helping customer to optimize from where they used to be. For example, a loan process may typically takes more than 2 weeks to get approved. By implementing Oracle solution using Oracle BPM, so basically we actually change the entire paradigm to make the bank even more efficient. First thing, the automation that we have done at the front end is actually to have the teller at the front counter, after receiving the loan form, they can immediately scan the document, and the scanned document will send directly to the back office system. After the scanned document actually get retrieved, it will easily just populate the data straight away to the backend system without even entering the data to the backend system. That in this case, actually avoiding a lot of duplication, avoiding error messages, and even avoiding some missing document and so on. So by having all this, they managed to actually streamline the whole process from 2 weeks, even shorter than that, even a shorter time. That's how I look at the power of a BPM, helping them to orchestrating all the way from document workflow to the human workflow, all the way to system workflow. The same thing actually applied also in the rules engine, right? So that we offer in our application. For example, before the rules engine or BPM actually introduced, every amount that actually been a loan amount that actually been applied. For example, whether it's a $1,000 US, $10,000 US, or even $1 million US, or everything going through the first in first out FIFO format, right? Unless you actually are a priority customer, you can actually go through a different kind of servicing offer that actually offered by the bank. But in terms of this, everything have to go through, like for example, a normal way of a credit check. It actually takes out quite a fair bit amount of time before the actually approval actually take into place. By having a proper rule engine, they can actually define the risk appetite based on the acquisition of a customer, whether it's a high risk, low risk, or medium risk. Using the rule engine using a tool-based BPM, able to actually help them to define or even refine the processes to make it even more efficient. That's how we see a tool-based solution like BPM from Oracle, helping them to actually simplify the entire processes to make it even more efficient. And in fact, through the acquisition of this solution, the bank that we talked about earlier on actually even won the Asian Banker Awards. At the same time, they also won IDC Award on the same year in 2010. Right, so the optimization of what we have done actually helped the bank save even $1.54 million at the end of the day for the mortgage loan. That's how we see the payback from by implementing an IT tool set using Oracle BPM to help them to simplify the process, to get them even closer to the customer, so that their counter staff can actually spend more time to sell value-added product or even cross-sell the product to the customer. My last thought in terms of how we actually adopt BPM is always good to start small, right? So you need to actually align the business and IT together. So first of all, you need to look at what are the business goals that the business people are trying to achieve, and then look at the IT strategy, how to support the business to make them successful. The best way to start is actually to start small, look at some critical challenges that the business is facing, using that as a test case. First, to make it successful, to get a quick win, to get a buy-in for the business, but gradually build more and more services on top of this. So that's what most of my customers is going through the same journey. They start small, right, proven successful, and then has a roadmap to support more and more services along the way, right? But importantly, they must have a solid foundation, because only the solid foundation allows them to grow to support the IT journey 3 years or even 5-year roadmap down the road. Right, so the importance of BPM is certainly very, very key, because BPM is where most of the bank is looking at to optimize, to help them to actually gain more customer trust, to get a lot more efficiency, and that's how they're actually looking at customer intimacy at the end of the day.